All right, so here's the Unit 1 practice test. So the first set of questions were determining if it's true or false for each of the following statements, and we want to justify our answer, meaning we want to explain why we say true or false. So the first question, it says that in the expression -7 is a constant. So -7 is right here, and that is the number in front of a variable. But remember, a constant is a term that does not have a variable. So in that case, this is going to be false because the 13 is the constant. All right, the next question, it's saying -7 is a coefficient. So that is the correct definition of coefficient. Coefficient is a number in front of a variable. So for B, this is going to be true. -7 is a coefficient because it's a number in front of the variable. All right, the next question says that 6n squared and 6n cubed, or 6n to the second power and 4n to the third power, are like terms because they contain the same type of variable. While they do contain the same type of variable, they're both n's. If we look at their exponents, they're different. Remember that in order to be like terms, you have to have the same variable and the same exponent. Therefore, these are not like terms. So this is going to be false. They're not like terms because they have different exponents. All right, the second question, they're asking us to write a numerical expression that represents each verbal expression below. So for this one, it says 3 times 5 decreased by 11. So I've highlighted the terms that are going to be operation. We know times is going to be multiplication symbol, decreased by is going to be minus. So this is going to be 3 times 5 minus 11. The second one says 14 less than the quantity of 7 and 9. So remember that when we see the word less than, that means it's going to be kind of written in reverse, meaning we're going to minus 14 at the end. And when it says the quantity of 7 and 9, that means we're going to add together 7 and 9. So 7 plus 9, and then we're going to do 14 less than that. So 7 plus 9 in parentheses minus 14. All right, the next question says 5 times, again, it has that word quantity x increased by 7, minus 4 cubed. Okay, so here I'm going to start from the left. So it's going to be 5 times the quantity x increased by 7. So that's, again, going to be in parentheses. X increases plus by 7. Then we're going to minus 4 cubed means to the power of 3. So 4 with an exponent of 3. All right, question number 3 is asking us to select all the verbal expressions that represent this statement right here. Okay, so let's read the first one. It says half of 4. So that's the first part. This is saying half of 4 increased by is plus the product of 3 and 7. Product means multiplication. Remember that, and in fact, I'm going to go ahead and add this. Remember when that there's no symbol in between a number and a parentheses, it's multiplication. So this first one is correct. It does work for that. Okay, so it says select all of the expressions. That means there could be more than one true. Now the next one says twice 4. When we do twice something, that means 2 times 4. Well, this isn't 2 times 4. This is 1/2 times 4. So I know that this one cannot be right. All right, the next one says the sum of, so sum of, we know means addition. 4 times 1/2. So 4 times 1/2. This is 4 times 1/2. And 3 times 7. 3 times 7. So this is going to work. Sum is the addition part. And then we have 4 times 1/2 and 3 times 7. So this also is correct. All right, the next one says the quotient of 3 and 7. So quotient, remember, means division. Here's 3 and 7. Well, we're not dividing 3 and 7. We're multiplying it. So that means this one is not going to work. All right, the last one says the product of 1/2 and 4. So product means multiplication. That's 1/2 and 4. And 4 plus the product, or sorry, 1/2 and 4 plus, so we have the plus, the product of 3 and 7. Product of 3 and 7. So that one actually works as well. All right, question number 4 is asking us to write the most simplified expression. So remember, when we simplify an expression, we distribute and then we combine like terms if they have them. So if we look at A, I see parentheses and I see a number outside the parentheses, which means I'm going to be distributing. So I'm going to do negative 2 times 5x squared, okay, which is going to be negative 10x squared. Then I'm going to do negative 2 times negative 7x. So negative 2 times negative 7 is going to be positive 14x. And then I'm going to do negative 2 times negative 11. And negative 2 times negative 11 is going to be positive 22. Now, if we look to see if we have any like terms, these are both x's, but remember that this one doesn't have an exponent, so these are actually not like terms. So this is going to be my final answer. Okay, let's look at B. So B, there's no parentheses, which means we're not going to distribute. However, we are going to look for like terms. So first things, I have an 8m, and then I see I also have a positive 4m. So I know I'm going to be able to add those. 8m and 4m make 12m. Then I have a negative 3n and I have a positive 9n. So I can add those. I have negative 3n plus 9n. Negative 3 plus 9 is going to be a positive 6n. All right, let's look at C. I have parentheses, so first I'm going to do is distribute. So I'm going to do 3 times 2k, which is 6k. And then I'm going to do 3 times 5, which is positive 15. And then I'm going to bring everything else down. I have minus k and I have minus 6. Remember, when there's no number in front of a variable, that number is 1, which is going to help us when we combine like terms. So now I'm going to add together my k terms. I have a 6k and a negative 1k, or 6 minus 1 is going to be 5k. And then I have a positive 15 and a negative 6, or 15 minus 6. So that's going to be positive 9. All right, so now let's take a look at question number 5. It gives us a table of prices for items at a movie theater. And in the question, it's asking us to find or to write an expression that could be used to determine the total cost of 4 movie tickets. So 4 movie tickets would be 4 times $9.75. 2 popcorn, so we're going to be plus 2 times the amount of popcorn, which is $6.25. And 1 bottled water. Bottled water costs $4.75. So there's an expression that represents the total cost. And then part B is asking what's the total cost. So we can go ahead and just put that into a calculator. And the total cost is going to be $56.25. All right. Question number 6 is an order of operations question, and they want us to show all of the steps, and we're going to state the operation using each step. So we know the first thing we do is parentheses, and I see that I have parentheses here. And inside the parentheses, I'm going to do my exponent first. So I have 3 to the 3rd power, which is going to be 27. And remember, everything else just comes down with it. I'm also going to put a multiplication symbol where there's an invisible multiplication symbol. Next thing we're going to do is we're still working inside the parentheses. So still inside the parentheses, the next thing we're going to do is subtraction. So 27 minus 15 is going to be 12. And now we're going to bring down everything. So now we've got that down to one number. I don't need the parentheses anymore. Okay. So now the operations we have left is we have multiplication, addition, and division. So we're going to do multiplication, division, the same step, and we're going to go from left to right. So now we're going to do multiplication, division. Three times 12 is 36. Okay. And then we can go ahead and do this division. 20 divided by 4 is 5. And then we're going to bring down that addition sign. And now that we only have one thing left, we're going to go ahead and just do addition. 36 plus 5 gives me 41. All right, let's take a look at number 7. So number 7 is asking us to evaluate. So we're going to be plugging in A is -2. We're going to be plugging in B is -3. And then we're going to be plugging in C is +3. So let's go ahead and plug those in here. So remember, anything that's a number stays a number. It's going to be 4, and then we're going to do times -2 minus 3 times -3. I'm just putting in parentheses because they're negative. And then to the third power. And then in the denominator, I'm going to plug in, we have C here. 3 for C. So it's going to be 3 plus 5. So again, all I did here is I plugged in A for A, I plugged in B for B, and then I plugged in C for C. Now we need to use order of operations to simplify. So I'm going to start with my numerator, the numbers on top. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the 4 times the -2, and then the 3 times the -3. So 4 times -2 is going to be -8. And then here, we're going to be minus 3 times -3. Well, 3 times -3 is -9. So we're going to be minusing -9. Okay, and remember, a negative and a negative here is going to be turned into a positive. So we have -8 plus 9, which is going to be +1 to the third power. So I'm still just simplifying my numerator. 1 to the third power means 1 times 1 times 1. So that's just going to be 1 in the numerator. Now in the denominator, all we have to do is add together 3 plus 5, which is going to be 8. So my final answer, I'm just going to leave it as a fraction, is 1/8. If you went ahead and divided that, you could also say that is 0.125. All right, we're going to do the same thing for the next question. For the next question, though, we're plugging in x equals 4 in for x there. So we have 3 to the second power plus 6 times 4 minus 5/8. Okay, so order of operations, we're going to do exponent first. So 3 to the second power is 9. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify up here. So 6 times 4 is 24. So it's going to be 9 plus 24 minus 5/8. Then I'm going to do 24 minus 5, which is going to be 19. So it's going to be 9 plus 19 minus 5/8. Or sorry, 19/8. And then from here, we can divide 19 divided by 8. So it's going to be 9 plus 2.375. And now we can go ahead and add 9 plus 2.375 is going to be 11.375. All right, the last question gives us a table showing us discounted rates per student. So we have per student and per teacher for several field trips. It says, what is the expression for showing the cost for T teachers and S students to go to a play? So we don't know how many teachers, so we're just going to use a placeholder of T. Well, teachers, we're going to a play, so we're looking at this row here. Teachers cost $4.49. So the total cost would be $4.49 times T plus the cost for students. Again, we don't know how many students, so we're going to use a placeholder of S. So it's going to be students cost $2.29. So $2.29 times S. So there's an expression showing the cost. So now it's giving us the actual cost. So they're telling us, go ahead and substitute in. We know that 12 teachers are going to go, so we're going to replace that for T. And we know that 312 students are going to go, so we're going to replace that for S. So my expression with those values simplified or substituted in is going to be $4.49 times 12 plus 312 times, or let me do the cost first, $2.29 times 312. So that total cost is going to be $768.36.